Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Regional Council meeting for March the 23rd. We'll call it to order. We'll acknowledge that this meeting is being held in the traditional territory of our friends and our neighbors, our Treaty 8 partners of the Dene, Cree, and Danezaa people of the Port Nelson and Prophet River First Nations. We further recognize our treaty and the rights within that treaty. Finally, we also celebrate the contributions and enduring presence of the Métis people in our region. Please be advised that tonight's meeting is available for the public to attend virtually and is being streamed and recorded. Council, do you have any additions? I have one addition, which is a letter from Mom Fulton, the Toad River Area Club, about the Toad River Fire School. I will put that at new business items 10.1. Any other new business? Staff? No, ma'am. Thank you. This is an opportunity for the public to provide comment on our meeting. Is there any public in the gallery who wish to speak to tonight's agenda? No. Is there any online? No. Okay, adoption of the agenda is in order. Please, by Councillor Stoll, second by Councillor Inax. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We have 5 sets of minutes for adoption. The Regional Council meeting of March 9th. Committee of the whole of March 9th, Committee of the whole of March 11th, Committee of the whole of March 13th, and a special regional council meeting of March 16th were adopted. Move for adoption by Councillor Souls. Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Gerwin. Thank you. Is there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor of adoption? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Is there any business arising out of those minutes, Council? Staff? Okay. So that brings us to proclamations 7.1. Get to it. So this proclamation is for Purple Day for March 26th, 2026. Whereas Purple Day is celebrated on March 26th annually during Epilepsy Awareness Month to increase the knowledge and understanding of epilepsy in the community. And whereas Purple Day was founded in 2008 by Cassidy Megan, a 9-year-old girl from Nova Scotia who wanted people living with epilepsy to know that they were not alone. And whereas on Purple Day, people in communities around the world are encouraged to wear purple and host events in support of epilepsy awareness. And whereas increasing epilepsy awareness can help the public to recognize common seizure types or to respond with appropriate first aid. And whereas the onset of epilepsy can occur at any stage of life and does not discriminate against age, gender, race, ethnicity, religion, socioeconomic status, geographic location, or sexual orientation. And whereas Purple Day can improve the quality of life of people living with epilepsy, create a society that embraces the beauty of difference and helps us understand how we can all come together and make the world a better place. Now, therefore, I, Rob Fraser, Mayor of the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality, do hereby proclaim Thursday, March 26th, 2026 as Purple Day in the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality. Good one. Okay, that brings us to reports. So our first report is Administrative Report 1926, Riverwell to Booster Station line replacement. Staff, please. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yeah, so in recent years, staff have been targeting earlier procurement timelines to better align with contractor availability and to create a more competitive bidding pool. In this first report, we've outlined the procurement for the Riverwell to Booster Station line replacement. This is a renewal project that was originally identified for 2025. The first tender was issued in April of last year, where we received only one bid following close. The bid came in over the approved project budget, and other contractors had advised that they were unable to submit as their schedules had been full for the year already. Ultimately, we deferred the project to 2026, and we revised the project budget to reflect the 2025 costs we received. So now here we are in 2026. An invitation to tender was issued and closed on February 20th of this year. be happy to report the opportunity received a total of 6 compliant bidders. Those bids are outlined in the report. I can go over those costs if you'd like.
I'm good.
Good.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, we believe this stronger response is a testament to that shift in the earlier procurement timeline. However, the trade-off is an earlier procurement means an earlier obligation to award contracts. Tender opportunities have what's called an irrevocable period, which is essentially the period following close of an opportunity where bids remain valid, and that the owner must award to secure that pricing. To ensure we meet those obligations, today we're looking for pre-approval of the proposed 2026 budget, as well as approval of the award to the lowest compliant bidder, being S Young Enterprises.
Okay, thanks, Jasmine, for that report. Council, do you have any questions?
I just have one. Where is S Young from?
They're based out of Fort St. John.
Fort St. John?
They've bid on a few of our opportunities.
Yes.
They just haven't been the successful lowest bidder, but they came in low on this.
I get really encouraged when you see a whole bunch of bidders that are all within a given range. That's really a good sign.
Yeah, these bidders ranged from Fort Nelson, Fort St. John, Quesnel, Chilliwack, so it was quite the spread. It was nice to see.
But the prices were close to, they
They
were,
were.
you know, a pretty close range, which tells me that they, you know, we hit it pretty close with what we're expecting. Good, okay, what are council's wishes? Recommendation there.
I read that the 2026 budget for the River Well to Booster Station line replacement project be pre-approved. And that the contract for the River Well to Booster Station line replacement be awarded to S Young Enterprises in the amount of $747,676.51 plus contingency and applicable taxes.
Okay, moved by Councillor Soul, so I'm seconder. Councillor Enax, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, that brings us to admin report 20, which is the award of the 2026 annual capital gravel supply.
Yeah, so for this next report, we'll be discussing the procurement for the 2026 asphalt program. For this annual renewal program, we grouped together various roads projects to save overall costs. For further cost savings, we've been splitting out the gravel supply from the roadworks. This allows us to purchase larger quantities while reducing markup fees. So for this year's program, we have 3 budgets. This includes the Birch Drive and 56th Street, the Miniker subdivision, and the roads renewal asphalt budget, which has 3 kind of mini sub projects, being the town hall parking lot, an intersection on Dump Road, 55th Street, and a lift at Cordova Way in front of the fire hall. Collectively, these 3 budgets encompass the 2026 asphalt program. So the way that we procured it, we split the overall program into 2 bidding opportunities. One is the 2026 annual capital gravel supply, and the other is the 2026 roadworks opportunity. Both tenders were issued this year in January, with closing dates in early to mid-February. And both received 3 compliant bidders, which again, the costs are outlined in the report as you see today. Our evaluation confirmed that Tangle Ridge Custom Crushing is the lowest compliant bidder for both contracts, that they're qualified to complete the work, and that their pricing created a almost $1.3 million surplus in our overall budgets. Similar to the booster line replacement opportunity, this earlier procurement means earlier obligation to award. And therefore, we're looking for approval, preliminary approval of those 3 budgets for Birch Drive, Miniker sub, and for the roads renewal asphalt, with the kind of hub of 3 other projects, as well as approval to award both contracts to Tangle Ridge.
Thank you, Jen. Questions? Pretty straightforward stuff. I guess the only question I have now that I think we just have placeholders in the budget that's up. So if we pass these, do we put in these actual figures into the budget then?
We can, it doesn't change the numbers at the end of the day, it changes what would come out of reserves, but the contribution to reserves remain the same.
Yeah,
So we could outline what the changes are to the actual, we don't know dollar amount now.
yeah,
But it doesn't change the actual net tax limit. It just changes what comes out of reserves.
right. But we can change that. We can actually put it in the budget.
Yes.
Yeah, as the actual expenditure instead of the placeholder that we've got. Yeah, good. Okay. Any other questions? What are council wishes?
Recommend that council pre-approve the 2026 budget for Birch Drive and 56th Street renewal, Miniker subdivision surface renewal, and roads renewal, asphalt, and that contract for the 2026 annual capital gravel supply be awarded to Tangle Ridge Custom Crushing Limited in the amount of 640,000 plus applicable taxes and contingency and that the contract for the 2026 roadwork program be awarded to Tangle Ridge Custom Crushing Limited in the amount of 3,666,561.49 plus applicable taxes and contingents.
Okay, moved by Councillor Sol. So I have a seconder. Councillor Yax. Any further discussion? Is it standard contingency? It just reminded me when he read the word contingency there. Is it standard, the contingency? It's a standard amount?
Yeah, it
Like a
can
percentage?
fluctuate depending on what we know about the project. So if there's like further exploration, once we expose, if we're doing a dig, there might be some unknown that we want to build some extra contingency. For these projects, it's a standard 10%.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you, Jasmine. Okay. The next order of business is report 21. Revisit housing inventory, future accommodation needs. Welcome, Diana.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the report that you have in front of you is regarding physician housing inventory and future accommodation needs in municipality. Currently, the NRRM owns 5 housing units, 4 used for physicians and 1 for allied health professionals. We are also temporarily leasing an additional unit due to current demand. One of our existing units has been identified as no longer meeting the needs of incoming physicians, which presents an opportunity to reassess our inventory. At the same time, we continue to see ongoing need for local accommodations and potential future needs for municipal staff housing, example, CAO, HR. Through preliminary review, there may be an opportunity to sell the unsuitable unit and acquire a more appropriate housing, potentially even 2 units at a comparable price, improving both functionality and flexibility. The key benefits of this approach include stronger recruitment outcomes, reduced reliance on short-term rentals, improved support for local coverage, greater flexibility for municipal needs. There are risks, particularly around timing and housing availability, but these can be mitigated through careful planning. The recommendation before council is to direct staff to explore the sale of the current unsuitable residence and investigate replacement options better suited for physician housing, including an additional accommodation unit to support locum coverage with a report back to council with options and financial implications. This work is about ensuring we have the right infrastructure in place to support healthcare services in our community.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Questions?
You will.
Deputy Mayor Gurley, please.
Sorry, so I'm not sure what property that, sorry, I'm losing my voice, but I'm not sure what property is been deemed as unsuitable, but I have a guess. So if my guess is correct, when that residence was donated, I thought there was a caveat that it could only be used for health related purposes.
It's not that unit.
It's not that one?
It's not that unit.
Okay, thank you.
No.
You're thinking the one on Simpson Track. The one on Simpson? Yeah, no, it's not.
Councilor Schultz, your question, please?
Yeah, I was wondering what residence it was, because if you have one that's not suitable for one purpose, how are you gonna sell it to a similar purpose? Is there likely to be a market selling it?
So the house itself, there's nothing wrong with the house itself, other than it doesn't have a garage and it's very big.
Oh,
It's a
yes.
5-bedroom.
Now I know which one it is.
Yeah, and so when you're working on call in our winter weather, the garage is nice to be able to just jump in your car and get to the hospital, so.
Okay, and so we're really just authorizing a report here. I think the report should come back to an in-camera meeting. That, so we can discuss it, you know, exactly why we're selling, if we're selling, what we might want to buy, so. Okay, what are council's wishes then?
So, can I just make one more comment? I'm
Please.
not meaning to be picky, but when it says better suited for physician housing. Do we want to limit that to just physician housing? This is it not health care? Personnel funding?
Healthcare in
Could
general.
we expand on that?
So,
Just to me.
yeah, it's just a report, so as long as you understand that the report's gonna come back to us, it's healthcare in general.
Yeah.
I think that's, I think we
Thanks.
change it.
I'll read it.
Please.
Yeah,
I think.
Oh,
I thought-
Irving is having trouble, so,
I'm not reading today.
yeah.
That staff explore the future sale of the existing physician residence, which no longer meets their current requirement and retention needs. And investigate the acquisition of a replacement property better suited for physician housing, including an additional accommodation unit to support locum coverage, with a report back to council with options and financial implications.
Moved by Councilor Schultz, second by Deputy Mayor Gurley. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Vote carried. Okay, that brings us to Administrative Report 22-26, the 2026 Chief Election Officers. Okay, Mr. McIver, Jayleen?
Hi, good evening. So this one's pretty straightforward. It's a little later than we normally do on the year of the election, but we tried our best to recruit, as you'll recall, a chief election officer from the community, and unfortunately we had no interest. So we've taken a look at our internal staffing complement, and we'd like to recommend that council appoint Stacey Aspin, our deputy corporate manager, and Alicia Gregory as the chief election officer and deputy chief election officer, respectively. So, as we know, the duties will start rolling up here soon, and so it would be great to have them formally appointed and they can begin their hard work to prepare for the upcoming election in October. So.
Thank you, Jayleen. Any questions?
Yeah, those two ladies are sitting right here. And does this excite you or does it?
I don't see a vibrating in your seat somewhere.
Well, it's a change. It's a change of pace for sure, isn't it? There you go.
It'll definitely be a team effort, but but there are formal appointments that are required under the Local Government Act. So there you have it.
Thank you very much. Council?
Yeah, so I just have, in the report, it says, and plans are underway to ensure that service levels within corporate services can be maintained. So I just want to make sure that there are funds or resources available to offset the reorganization so that, you know, the two positions aren't overworked, but also so that council's agenda can keep moving forward as we near the end of our term and we all want stuff done.
Most definitely, yeah. So the funds that we had included in the budget for that external resource or capacity will be reallocated for some backfill capacity to help. Yeah, just as you say, keep moving things along and making sure that we can support the organization and the services we provide internally and things like that. So I think we have a pretty solid plan in place in terms of how to carry on and still ensure that the core duties of the election are fulfilled with the appointments.
Good, okay. Thank you, Jillian. Do we, what are your wishes?
You want to read this one?
You go ahead.
I recommend that Stacy
You do
has
so well.
be reappointed as chief electoral officer and that Felicia Gregory be appointed as deputy chief election officer for conducting the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality 2026 local government elections and any 2026 referendum.
Moved by Councillor Sol, so I have a second. Second by Councillor Alex. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Next we'll move to correspondence and information packages. So there is a letter there from Kim Eglinski, Executive Director of Northern Lamplighters, a request for a letter of support. We can put that on the floor, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Goering, second by Councillor Alex. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, so they're looking for a letter to NDIT to support their Seniors Week celebrations grant. Okay, so that motion is made by Deputy Mayor Goering. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Enox, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks. So we will write a letter to NDIT, or actually write a letter for the Lamplighters for their Senior Week celebration. They can pass that on to NDIT then after that. Okay. There are 1, 2, 3 letters of support, or 3 letters, sorry, 4 letters for information. You sure may. So Deputy Mayor German would like to move
The letter.
Mark
From Margaret Little.
Okay, from
9.3.
9.3 for discussion. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Souls, all in favor? Opposed? That carries. Go ahead as best you can, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to pull this out for discussion and just draw attention to the work that Margaret does around seniors right throughout the North Peace and the Northern Rockies. Just I want to express my gratitude for all of the work that she does, her and Jim. And I believe that we should write the province expressing our concerns and deep frustrations with the cancellation or the postponement, along with the continued lack of funds to support services that we see seniors staying in their own homes, thereby negating some of the needed for these assisted living arrangements. And just for example, our Better Homes program here is now servicing 69 clients with 10 on a wait list, and they've been advised that there will be no additional funds available throughout 2026 and 2027 remains unknown. So I think that some advocacy from this government is in order.
Okay, any further discussion? Then I think I hear a resolution from Deputy Mayor Goering that we write a letter to Ministry of Health. I think it's pretty small, I can't read it. So to whomever it is, I believe it's the Ministry of Health, expressing the Northern Rockies disappointment with respect to the funding cuts. And Northern Premier and anybody else that we want to copy, and we make that make sense. So I hear that from Deputy Mayor Drilling. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Souls. Does staff have an idea of the letter that we're looking for? Yeah, okay, so all in favor then, opposed? That's carried. Okay, so that leaves one, the letter from ERS, the letter from us to Bob Warner, and the letter. To the Arts Council, for the street festival support, to receive for information. Moved by Councilor Uniacke, second by Councilor Stolz, all in favor, both carries. Thank you. That brings us to new business. So the new business on tonight's agenda is a letter that I received from a member of our Wildfire Resiliency Committee from Tom Fulton, who's interested in asking council to support a Gold River Fire School. Well, this hasn't gone by the committee yet because of the meeting got canceled Thursday evening. But Tom was in town, so a few of us sat down with him and tried to flush this out from his perspective, what he was looking for. And so, you know, they'd like to put this fire school on because they would like to train with some of the equipment that has been purchased and that they've got up there. They recognize that they are isolated and likely our fire department, because it's outside our fire district, won't attend any kind of fire situation, wildfire situation that happens up there. And so they're really looking to train on that equipment that they've got, as well as some of the background training that's needed for firefighters in this wildfire situation. I'm just drawing a blank right now on the courses. It's in here, ICS 100, S100, S185. So I don't know those courses myself, but I suspect they're all around managing fire and being able to work around fire. So their initial request for training monies would, if council approves it, I think it's the intention that it would come out of the money that's been set aside for wildfire projects and our Fire Smart initiatives. So I said that I would put it on tonight's agenda, and then Friday I asked for a meeting with the CAO and the fire chief, and they've got some things they have to say, I think, about this. So if I could invite the chief maybe up to, or would you like to speak about it?
I can speak and James can come up too.
Yeah, sure. So if he would like to come up, because I think it does, you know, they've explained to me that we're really potentially taking this whole fire idea to another level, and so that has some implications. I think it's important that the chief and the CAO sort of explain that to us. And then we'll try to figure out what we're going to do about it.
Sure, I can start off with
Sure.
the chief. Feel free to chime in. So I think generally from a service and support perspective, obviously municipality would mean support. We understand council's wishes, and we've supported organizations and we'll pick and track in the past for supporting financially to purchase fire equipment and whatnot. And there was the donation of the fire apparatus that went up there a number of years ago. When we look at the Fire Safety Act, we look at EDMA, which is a new legislation specific to what municipalities' requirements are in regards to wildfire. And the regulations that we're still waiting to be released or to come out because they're not fully developed yet. There's some potential concerns around liability and what that liability might do within the municipality. So in terms of this particular process here, I mean, when I talk to the chief, he would always be in favor of having more resources. It's just that who's responsible for those resources, who's liable for those resources. And it's important to understand what that liability looks like. And we don't have a complete understanding of that at this moment as staff. And we've reached out to get some legal advice specific to that. So we could provide that information back to council. Because what we wouldn't want to happen is have some best intentions, but unintended consequences how it goes potentially is quite frankly how I could put it, or I guess bluntly, I guess. So if this is something council wishes, it's, my recommendation would be to direct staff to bring back to get as much information as we can, which we're currently doing right now, because I suspect, where this is gonna potentially go, so we're trying to get ahead of it, because we know there's a level of urgency. And we bring a report back to council that would outline the potential, what linkages may or may not be there and liabilities potentially to council, because the risks that we're concerned about, and again, we don't have it fully flushed out. Is this a service that the municipality would be responsible for from a liability perspective, or if for instance, a brigade is being formed rurally, would that essentially, because of the funding, through association with the municipality, not be responsible from a liability perspective to ensure that there's proper training, et cetera, and now you just created potentially, I guess, create an additional service. And I think it's important if council wished or did not wish to, you have the information in front of you so you can make that informed decision.
Yeah, and so even though they just really have asked for money for a fire school, it opens up this entire rural wildland firefighting brigade concept. Even if it's at the start of it, there it is, it's there, and I think there is support in our community for a wildland firefighting brigade, what that looks like, whether it's a volunteer service, whether it's attached or has to be attached to the fire department. I think there's some willingness out there for us to look at something like that. But again, we have to go in with our eyes wide open. Is it a new service entirely, or is it just an expansion of our fire service? So Chief, I'd like to hear your perspective around a new brigade and what that takes from the fire marshal or the fire act. All the sort of, well, not all the stuff, but as many of them as you can think of. So everybody has an idea what it takes.
So just like Scott said, we're just here to just make sure that it's done correctly versus now we're trying to catch up to make it right.
Right.
So under the Fire Services or the Fire Safety Act, call it Fire Services Act, but under the Fire Safety Act, the new act that they enacted, it's just like how we understand it today would be if we provide anything outside of an awareness level, or if they were just doing, say, fire smarting work where they're educating the public, they're doing the, fire smart mitigation where they're doing that fire smarting homes and properties, that is fine. But once they start dealing with fighting fire, which would be setting up sprinklers at somebody's home, that is a structural fire protection job. So under the Fire Safety Act, if council was to go that way, then basically you would have to declare a level of service to Toad River and that group of people. So whoever's trained, they have to make sure that they're properly trained, they have the training. Then you're gonna have to declare what kind of level of service you want them to provide. Is it just putting sprinklers on people's homes? Is it setting up fire suppression equipment, anything like that? It's my understanding under the Fire Safety Act is council will have to make that, declare that level of service that you're willing for them to do that. And not only that, then they have to, you would have to basically have a person in charge or a chief officer or a fire chief in charge of that. So they're following the incident command system. If BC Wildfire gets involved, they fall under that chain of command, everything is going smoothly. Then you have to outfit them with PPE. They need the proper personal protective equipment to be able to do that. So they need fire retardant clothing or wildland gear, helmets, boots, gloves, all that, radios. It can start really small, where I think the municipality can really work with Toad River and build something without having to go to a full service fire brigade. Because once they're a fire brigade, then you have to declare level of service, a fire chief, training records. They have to meet a certain amount of training per month, and bylaws. So, which none of that is in effect today.
Right, so there's no possibility if the municipality gets involved that it can be an informal sort of group that then does fire suppression, because that's what we're talking about here, right? Is fire suppression, and so is fire suppression, is that putting sprinklers up, or is that preventative measure?
So how the Fire Safety Act would classify that is structure protection, so that falls into fire
Right.
departments. That's hands-on operations. stuff,
Right.
So
So it's operational, not, right, okay. So my next question then is, does the municipal insurance agency cover wildland firefighting? Is that part of sort of what? I guess if we go through the whole thing, it's just the same as our fire department or not?
Yeah.
Do we know that, or can we ask that?
That's something we'll have to ask. Yeah, there's a number of things, we'll add that to our list. The other one, yeah, like I said, we have suspicions, but suspicions are good. I mean,
Right.
we need to get answers, basically, right? Similar when you look at EDMA or the Emergency Disaster Management Act, which is the legislative framework for emergency management. There's some clear language in there. Also, as a municipality or as a local government, we can't promote to stay and defend.
Right,
As a property or as a private property owner, the private property owner has the right to stay and defend their own property. But there's liabilities attached if they stay and defend someone else's private property or potential liabilities.
so individually they can do it, but they can't form groups. Yeah,
And again, EDMA is another, language within EDMA again is the regulations aren't. They say this is what you can or can't do, they don't tell us how you can or can't do it, that's what we're waiting for the regulation component. So there's a number of questions, but I think it's just important that we were able to ask whatever questions we can to bring back, so. As you mentioned, so council wasn't with eyes wide open, so there is the unintended consequence. Whatever consequence may be, you've already factored that into your decision, essentially, or maybe like.
well, I thought this discussion would come a little further down the road, with respect to the Fire Smart Committee. But this is sort of bringing it to the forefront right away, and so, as I said, I think there is some support out there for that kind of a service here, just because we're so far, and the potential for our local wildfire group to be overwhelmed and need assistance quicker than what they can get it from down south. So I think there's benefits for us to start looking at this, and so, I guess what we can do then is just hold on to this letter. If you could come to the meeting tomorrow night where we talk about this letter and explain what you'd explain to us, so that everybody at the committee hears it from you rather than from me, I think that would go a long ways. And yeah, is there any other questions, Councillor Schultz?
Yeah, I find it kind of encouraging, but not connecting the dots really well. But it's really encouraging when you got a group of people that want to build the capacity of interface wildfire fighting right in their communities. That's really awesome, and it begs a couple questions. First of all, if you even have a fire truck or a water tank stationed in Toad River, and you have a volunteer fire department, what is it under the same? Does it create the same liabilities for us as what we're describing? And the answer is it probably does. But while the fire crew training is actually taking place in a number of places in the Peace and the North Peace, and it's all done under private umbrellas. And I think what the advantage of that is that the private ones actually, they communicate with BC Wildfire and so on, and then they work right under BC Wildfire's umbrella with a bunch of trained people and those things, because the responsibility for those people fall on the insurance and training and records of that private. Yeah, well, yeah, but the private company that is a trainer of these ones can also manage it in a way, instead of us having to manage things like that. So how do you get to a point where you're, as a municipality, really encouraging this kind of training to take place, but not having it directly be on our shoulders to risk? That's my question.
And that's the information we got to get back from the fire commissioner's office, for example, because we have run into that a lot since we're a municipality. We're totally different than everywhere else when it follows the rules and regulations, so. Yeah, that's answers we need to actually get the correct answer for.
Yeah. Okay.
Like council can make that decision, you just have to declare that level of service that they will only be, say, structure set up sprinklers or something like that, you can declare that.
Yeah.
But then you kind of take that liability to have to make sure that it's done by the book.
Yeah.
They have the proper training. Somebody is like all their training records would be on file, say with the municipality or the fire department. They would almost have to run all their training stuff like we have to, like WorkSafe could come in tomorrow and request any training record, and we have it at our fingertips to make sure, yeah, these people are properly trained to do that function, so.
Well, and that's one of those, you know, if the idea of a wildfire brigade takes any kind of shape, I think, you know, the administrator of that would have to come through the municipality, right? We have to make sure that's all happening, so.
And you want to protect the residents of Toll River. If one of them ever got hurt, you want to make sure they're covered by WorkSafe BC.
That's right.
That's why that Fire Safety Act got put in place, because a lot of the places had volunteer fire departments. They weren't properly trained and they were killing firefighters.
Yeah.
So it's there for a reason. It's just, we just want to make sure it's done safely with everybody's safety in mind, so.
Okay, well, we will defer this discussion to the committee and see where we go from there. But I'm very interested in the legal opinion with respect to how this all, and I understand you have got meetings set up with the lawyer, so. Good. Okay, thank you for that. The next item on the agenda is council reports. Are there any reports from any of the councilors? Councilor Enoch.
March 10th, I flew from summer back to winter. I attended the Northern Lights College meeting in Fort St. John. March 13th, I attended the tourmaline meeting we had here in town, as well as the 16th, the government transfer application review meeting. And I do have to backtrack to the 1st of March. When I was away, we had a cheer party for Team Streeper, which we had here at the theater as well. So sitting in the warmth of Mexico, we had a whole backyard full of people watching. Team Streeper and the Canadian Express traveled up to Anchorage for the Fur Ronde World Championship. It's a 3-day race, 26 miles. Those dogs run every day of the race. Buddy was tied with George Atla for 10 wins. He became the all-time champion after breaking a 44-year-old record for his 11th win. And then just this past Sunday, Team Streeper was up in Fairbanks for the Lotto Alaska Open North American Championship. Buddy's now tied for the 12th time with another musher, and I can't remember his name, from Sweden. And this is his 8th time in a row he's won. So if he wins one more time, he's going to take that for a record as well. So congratulations, Team Streeper. That's 27 world championships now. That's it.
Notice that the timings are getting tighter.
I know.
Who's second in line is getting tighter. So it's getting really interesting in the dog racing world, because there's some people that have been following Buddy along right behind him, and they're getting closer.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah. So they've had a good end to their season.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Good. Are there any other council reports? Councilor Gordon?
So in addition to the special council meetings between March 9th and today, I have on the 10th, March the 10th and 16th, participated in 4 interviews to shortlist for the CAO position. And we had our second primary care stabilization committee meeting. March the 12th, I attended the chamber board meeting. On the 14th, I volunteered at the Grace Manor bingo, and on the 17th, I attended the harm reduction committee. March 8th was the environmental advisory committee, and just a little bit of information around our what we've diverted in 2025. Total organics diverted to the vermicompost facility in 2025 was 372.6 metric tons compared to 253.32 metric tons in 2024. And one of our community members had a great idea to create a virtual tour of the vermicompost diversion project, so stay tuned for details. March 20th, I attended the BC Rural Health Network Executive meeting, and I just wanted to share another health related piece of information. I was going to ask for a letter, but maybe I'm not going to today, but I just wanted to share this information. So The provincial budget of 2026 promised to protect children and healthcare. However, the province is scaling back a program that helps out-of-town children and families with accommodations when they need emergency care that's only available in Vancouver. The program is called the BC Family Residence Program. Previously, it was available for all families with no wage cap, with stays up to 30 days. After the cut, the household income level went from unlimited to $80,000, and the length of stay was reduced to a total of 21 days. So it's really sad news for children and families that need to be in Vancouver for any length of time. And that's my report, thanks.
Okay. So I guess I'll give my report. I also attended all the meetings that you guys have talked about, plus I sat in on the CAO recruitment interviews. That process is going very, very well. As a, I guess, what am I on the stabilization committee? I'm an ex officio member of that committee, and I sat in on their last meeting, and it was good. It was fun. I think that the way you put the sessions together to get our thoughts were made it entertaining. So it was great to be there. Unfortunately, I can't go to tomorrow's meeting because we've got a postponed meeting from last Thursday tomorrow night. So I also attended Northern Development Initiative Regional Advisory Committee, of which I'm the chair. This year for the Northwest region, we have just over $2 million of available funds for different initiatives out there. It was a fairly small first intake this year. There were four projects presented. 4 projects were put forward from the RAC. We don't authorize, it's the main board that authorizes them. But they were put forward from the RAC. So it was good that our region is seeing some good opportunities, I guess, from NBIT. So those are the main meetings that I've gone to. All right, if there's nobody else, then there's no outstanding business. Is there any notice of motions for the next meeting? Seeing none, is there any public or news who wishes to comment on tonight's meeting? Online? No? Okay, good. Then I'll need a resolution to move into a closed meeting pursuant to 91A of the community charter, which is personnel information about identifiable individuals, roles, or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality, or another position appointed by the municipality. I have a mover to go in camera. Moved by Deputy Mayor Brewing, to the seconder, Councillor Enoch. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We'll go in camera and then we'll rise with the report if we need to after that. Okay, welcome back, everybody. We have come out of our in-camera portion of our meeting. We do have one resolution to rise and report. Staff, would you like to read that, please?
Yeah. Moved by Councillor Enoch, seconded by Councillor Souls, that Regional Council formally appoint following individuals as members of the Northern Rockies Primary Care Stabilization Planning Committee: Scott Berry, Northern Rockies Regional Municipality; Diana Penny, Northern Rockies Regional Municipality; Jamie McIver, Northern Rockies Regional Municipality; James Childs, Northern Rockies Regional Municipality; Crystal Carrick, Fort Nelson First Nation; Kim Eglinski, Jamie Thompson, Randy McLean, Tabitha Jacobs, and Ken Johnson. It's carried unanimously.
Thank you for that. Adjournment is in order, please. Moved by Councillor Enoch, second by Councillor Stoll. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.